God told me to do nothing.
See, but you understand, you're doing something. Other people that need to do something, because this is ridiculous. Y'all watching, us watching this shit. You feel me? So he wants me to do nothing and to figure out whatever.
I know you, Puff. I know you hide things well. I know you bury things well. I know you lie well.
Send it to us. That's why God telling me not to do nothing. Y'all do it. Y'all see it. Y'all watch this shit.
You didn't think I would ever get to the point of telling people what you've done.
I'm not really supposed to be doing that.
Put us in a room with people who don't know. And he's the most powerful man.
I want to fight for, just and not guilty. I want to have a life to be able to live. It's really going to be hard for me to take more hits than I take it.
We need the core theme to be, you didn't do anything wrong. We're losing sight of the big picture, man. It's the middle of September and there's still no indictment.
Bro, then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to constantly be pushing that, Mom.
When you're a leader in that way, it's admirable until you get to the point where you want to control everyone around you. He got to that point.
It's like Scarface, the movie. I want the world and everything that's in it. But you got everything.
Hey, yo, New York, we did it! Harlem, we did it, Mount Vernon, we did it!
Nobody's gonna be bigger than me.
Sean is the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. We'll never see a Sean in my lifetime again. Ever.
It was like the more money he got, the more power he got, the more power he got, the more money he got. And he always felt like money can get him out of everything.
I do feel it's important that we let the public know from the juror standpoint, just kind of how we reach the verdict. It's not everything that the media has put it out to be.
You want to put the stuff in my fanny pack, King?
He's creating a narrative always. He is the best storyteller in hip hop. He thinks he's Black Superman. I can do what I want.
You can't go on for long in life doing the things that he was doing before something eventually happens. You can't continue to keep hurting people and nothing ever happens. It's just a matter of time.
I was dazzled by his ideas and his unique talent. But he was a very different Sean Combs back then. Sean was 19 when he dropped out of Howard University. He wanted to be in the flashy, swaggy music industry. He started off dancing, wanting to be in videos, wanting to be a pop culture mover and shaker at a time where things were changing.
The late 80s, it was fantastic.
There were a lot of independent labels that gave birth to hip hop in the way that we know it today. Heavy D was the biggest rapper signed to Uptown. We called him the official mayor, and his influence reached all the young people in the neighborhood, including the young Sean Combs, who was at Mount St. Michael High School, a Catholic private school. He would knock on Heavy D's door every day.
The only entrance into hip hop at that point was Andre Harrell and Russell Simmons. Into the corporate hip hop world, into the money.
Sean had impressed Andre enough to give him an internship, and that was the beginning. He had the Gumby and he looked like a scholastic dweeb,
but Sean was so determined.
Andre Harrell, Heavy D, Al B. Sure, they had all the money and all the power, and I was like, I don't know what they did, but that's what I want to do.
Sean grew up with the illusion of what masculinity looks like. My first encounter with Sean, I remember it like yesterday. My family, we rented the first floor of Sean's house. I was my mom and dad's only child, so now Sean has somebody to brother up with. We experienced a lot of firsts together.
I didn't know much about him. I know that he had a big ego. I met him around 89, 90. My job was to promote music videos. And Puffy, he was always doing the party promotions, so he's always like handing out the flyer.
They were the most successful parties at that time, but they were all about promoting himself.
I went to a party for a good friend. It was getting very late. Puffy is like, oh, you know, I'm having an after party at Andre Harrell's house. Puffy is like very polite, you know, and thanking me for helping him. And he asked me, oh, wow, I just got this call, you know, this girl backed out of this music video, you know, can you do it? And I was like, I don't do music videos. And I needed a ride back to Manhattan. So I went along, and I never forget, I had the same clothes on that I had from the night before. The music video was called Straight from the Soul by Finesse and Sinquist. The whole premise was for me to jump out the car and go with these girls and get away from the pimp guy.
Was there ever a time that Sean Combs assaulted you?
Yes. Someone called me up and told me that, he said, you know, he has, you know, video. And I was like, what? I approached a lot of people for help. I got things like, what do you want me to do about it? To, if I help you, I can't get into his parties. I avoided him for a very long time. I ran into him one day. He came to me. He got on his knees and swore he did not do this thing to me and denied it. And that is the very last time I talked to him.
If you think you know the whole story, you're wrong. We are going episode by episode through the reckoning. And the timeline of these revelations is actually terrifying. I'm showing you the clips, the reactions, and the moment the case turned upside down. Here is the full season breakdown. Only 2 months after Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to 50 months in prison, Netflix dropped what many are calling the most explosive celebrity expose of the decade. Sean Combs, The Reckoning, directed by Alexandria Stapleton and executive produced by 50 Cent. This 4-part docu-series isn't just another biography, it's a full-blown autopsy of a fallen empire. The first episode opens not with a scandal, but with a dream. Grainy archival footage of a young Sean Combs hustling through the halls of Uptown Records, wide-eyed and ambitious. It's the story of a kid from Harlem with charisma sharp enough to bend the room. By the early 90s, he had built Bad Boy Records, the label that redefined hip-hop's glossy era and made him a mogul before 30. But before the fame, there was a tragedy that foreshadowed everything to come. The episode revisits the 1991 City College Stampede, a charity basketball event organized by a 21-year-old Combs. When 5,000 people rushed the doors, chaos erupted. 9 fans were crushed to death.
19, and I always like seeing people entertained. And I thought, you know, over the holidays, just wanted to throw a celebrity basketball game in Harlem.
I was at the game. I was on the floor. All of us was there. Every rapper in New York, right? Your MTV Raps came.
I'm at City College in the heart of New York City for the Puff Daddy Heavy D first all-time celebrity all-star classic.
That was one of the biggest basketball games. If that would have turned out correctly, it would have went down in history.
There's no more room, but everyone still wants to come.
We open up the doors, everybody starts flowing through, but then thousands more come.
Sean overpromoted, overhyped, and that led to a crowd.
The death toll from last week's stampede at a New York charity basketball game has risen to 9.
One of the unanswered questions remains who's to blame for the stampede that killed 9 people.
My dream for this evening was to bring a positive program to my people, to people of my age, and to people in my community. Whatever must be done to ensure that this never, ever, ever happens again.
That's how he got super famous, was that game and those deaths. That's the beginning of Puff Daddy.
Brass that afforded Uptown its distribution money wanted Sean out.
There were no charges filed, but investigators quietly debated his culpability. The doc frames this as a turning point, the moment where ambition and recklessness first collided. From there, The Reckoning dives into Kurt Burrow's disturbing recollection that following the stampede, a distraught Combs allegedly struck his own mother, Janice, in a fit of rage. The scene is gut-wrenching, not just because of the claim, but because of who it involves.
Kurt Burrow's allegations claims that he firsthand saw Diddy slap his own mother, Janice Combs. Here's what he said.
He was holed up in a hotel on the east side, him and his mother. He didn't know what was going to happen. And I saw Janice question Sean, and I saw him put his hands on her, call her a and slapped her.
Janice Combs has since publicly denied the allegation, calling it inaccurate and patently false.
According to reports, Janice Combs has addressed this. She said, I'm portrayed as an abusive parent. This is untrue. As I have stated previously, I was a single mother raising my son. I held 3 and even 4 jobs in an attempt to provide a comfortable upbringing and quality education for my child. I raised Sean with love and hard work, not abuse. The allegations that my son slapped me while we were conversing after the tragic City College event are inaccurate and patently false.
Still, the inclusion sets a dark tone for the series, that the violence wasn't born in fame, but maybe always lived close to it. Then comes one of the most chilling testimonies in the episode, Joy Dickerson Neal's story. She claims that in 1989, long before Bad Boy Records, Combs drugged and assaulted her and that he recorded the act.
Was there ever a time that Sean Combs assaulted you?
Yes. Someone called me up and told me that, he said, he has, video. And I was like, what? I approached a lot of people for help. I got things like, what do you want me to do about it? To, if I help you, I can't get into his party.
Showing the footage to others in the industry, her mother's handwritten letter to Combs pleading for him to stop showing the tape is shown on screen. One of the doc's most haunting visual moments. Combs has denied the allegations, but the case remains open. What director Stapleton captures beautifully is the central paradox of Diddy's rise. Every success came with a shadow. The title Pain vs. Love isn't just about relationships. It's about the war between control and compassion, between the public image he built and the private chaos that followed. By the end of the episode, the tone shifts. We see Diddy in vintage footage dancing, celebrating Untouchable as narration warns. And just when the world started celebrating his genius, tragedy struck again. The fades, the lights dim, and you realize this is not a story of success. It's the story of what happens when success turns into something darker. Key reaction to episode 1, Pain vs. Love, hit social media like an earthquake. Within hours of its premiere, #DiddyDoc and The Reckoning Netflix were trending across Twitter X, TikTok, and Instagram, with fans describing the opening chapter as gut-wrenching, unsettling, and the moment Diddy's mask finally slipped. Clips of the City College Stampede segment flooded feeds, particularly the haunting slow-motion montage of chaos outside the gymnasium doors, juxtaposed against Diddy's own archival footage from the same night. The emotional contrast struck a nerve. Viewers called it one of the darkest moments in history that no one ever talked about.
My dream for this evening was to bring a positive program to my people, to people of my age, and to people in my community. Whatever must be done to ensure that this never, ever, ever happens again.
The #CityAll91 gained over 25 million views on TikTok within 2 days. Some viewers were shocked to learn that no criminal charges were ever filed, with creators stitching the clip to point out how the tragedy seemed to mark the first time Combs walked away from devastation untouched. One viral tweet read, "That stampede wasn't an accident. It was the first red flag. He's been walking away from other people's pain since day one." Others focused on Kurt Bureau's jaw-dropping claim that Combs allegedly hit his own mother following the incident, an allegation that left audiences divided. Even though Janice Combs publicly denied it as inaccurate and false, the moment sparked furious debate about when and where Diddy's alleged violent behavior truly began. On TikTok, fans dissected every frame of the interview. Reaction videos show users pausing, rewinding, gasping. One creator said, "You can literally feel everyone in that room stop breathing when Burroughs says that line. It's not even what he says, it's the way he says it." Meanwhile, true crime podcasters and pop culture YouTubers jumped on the story within hours. Many noted how meticulously the documentary frames early signs of control, volatility, and unchecked ego that later dominate Diddy's career. YouTube breakdowns titled "The Origins of the Bad Boy Monster" and how the City College Stampede defined Diddy racked up millions of views overnight. But the most polarizing reaction came from longtime fans. Some defended him, arguing that young Puff was ambitious, not malicious. Others weren't as forgiving, saying, "We've been ignoring the red flags for decades. Every rumor we brushed off in the 2000s. It all started here." The episode's most chilling moment, Joy Dickerson Neal's assault story, triggered emotional responses across survivor communities online. Threads filled with messages of support for Joy and outrage at the industry's silence. The letter from her mother shown in the episode became a heartbreaking symbol of how power can bury truth for decades. Industry insiders quietly began to weigh in too. Former Uptown Records staffers, anonymous but verified on X, hinted that the the doc barely scratched the surface of what really went down behind closed doors. Journalists pointed out that this episode reframed Diddy's origin story not as a rags to riches triumph but as the blueprint of unchecked power and impunity. As the dust settled, episode 1 left audiences shaken, not by the fame, but by the pattern. From the City College tragedy to early allegations of abuse, viewers began connecting dots that had been hiding in plain sight. One comment under Netflix's official trailer summed up the mood best. "This isn't a documentary. It's a confession from history we refuse to hear." And as episode 1 fades to black with that final line, just when the world started celebrating his genius, tragedy struck again. Social media couldn't stop asking one thing. If this was only the beginning, what horrors were still to come? If episode 1 laid the foundation for Diddy's rise, episode 2 rips open the world he built, exposing how fame, paranoia, and ego collided to form one of the darkest chapters in hip-hop history.
He's saying to himself, how do I get out of this? Maybe I can convince some witnesses that I'm not the guy who I am. Eventually, he's going to get to the point where he's going to ask himself, how did I get myself into this situation?
The episode opens with a slow montage. Diddy on red carpets, champagne in hand, surrounded by flashing cameras, set against the somber narration. In the 1990s, Sean Puffy Combs was untouchable, but power always demands a price. From there, the reckoning plunges into the bad boy versus death row era. The cultural battlefield that shaped and nearly destroyed an entire generation of hip-hop through archival clips and first-hand testimonies. The episode reconstructs how the tension between Combs' Bad Boy Records in New York and Suge Knight's Death Row Records in Los Angeles spiraled into something far more dangerous than rivalry. Industry insiders recount how Diddy's polished suit and tie image contrasted sharply with Death Row's raw gangster energy. But behind the scenes, both labels were playing with fire, each trying to outshine the other through intimidation, money, and power moves. Suge Knight's infamous 1995 Source Awards moment where he took shots at Diddy on live television come to Death Row reappears here remastered and chillingly narrated. Viewers watch as the crowd erupts in chaos, not realizing they were witnessing the spark that would ignite years of bloodshed. One former Bad Boy executive describes the atmosphere bluntly. "It wasn't about who had the better artists anymore. It was about who owned the streets, and Puff wanted that throne." Midway through the episode, the tone shifts. Former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who led the special task force investigating Tupac Shakur's 1996 murder, takes center stage. Sitting in a dimly lit room, Kading reveals a damning proper testimony from Dwayne K.D. Davis, a member of the Crips, who claimed the gang was offered $1 million to assassinate both Tupac and Suge Knight.
You said that Puffy called and said, "Was that us?" And you didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. Yeah, you're right.
Apparently, there was supposed to be $1 million that Zip was supposed to bring back, but he ended up keeping the money and buying a nightclub with it.
That's what the FBI said.
The FBI said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys never got any money?
Never.
For anything?
Nothing.
Archival police documents flash on screen as Kading narrates. The name that came up repeatedly was Sean Combs. The episode freezes on Kading's face as he continues. "We had testimony, money trails, and witness statements suggesting Combs put out the hit, but it never stuck. The question is why?" Combs in previously unseen 2008 interview footage denies every allegation, calling it garbage and a dangerous lie that could get people killed. But the show doesn't let the denial rest. Kirk Burrows, Diddy's former business partner, appears again, visibly shaken. "The power games got too real," he says. "There were moments when you could feel it. Something was about to break. It stopped being business. It became survival." Then comes the gut punch. Never before seen footage from the night the notorious B.I. was shot in 1997. The grainy, chaotic footage sees SUV speeding away from the scene. March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles. The night hip-hop lost its brightest star and Diddy lost his shield. Detective Kading alleges that Diddy made a series of questionable decisions leading up to that night, most notably canceling Big E's scheduled European press tour, keeping him in Los Angeles despite mounting tensions. Kading says he Biggie to his death. Whether he knew it or not, he set up the perfect storm.
Sean signed Biggie in 1992. People didn't know we had to produce Biggie's album for Uptown. He was an Uptown artist. Sean was insanely jealous of Biggie and Pac's friendship.
You know, when I was around Big, I felt like he really loved me. I felt like if I left the room, he wasn't gonna say nothing bad or somebody said something bad about me, he would defend that.
There's a yearning for him to have that complete, total control. You're my artist, you're my best friend, I make hits with you. Why do we need him in the picture?
Burroughs adds another explosive claim that Diddy instructed him to alter Big E's contract days before the shooting to favor Bad Boy Records. When Burroughs refused, he says, "That was the end of my career. I was cut off overnight." The documentary juxtaposes this claim with statements from Wayne Barrow, who managed Biggie's estate. Barrow pushes back hard, saying, "That's false. Puff paid for the funeral, every cent. We reviewed every royalty statement. Not a dollar was taken from Biggie's estate." Netflix editors weave in court footage, newspaper headlines, and old interviews to paint a portrait of chaos and contradiction, one where loyalty and betrayal blurring to each other. Then comes the most debated revelation. Did Diddy make Big E's estate pay for his own funeral? The doc airs Kurt Bureau's shocking account that Diddy insisted on the biggest funeral New York has ever seen, but then wanted it recouped from Big E's royalties. The claim ignites immediate outrage online. However, Wayne Barrow's rebuttal and Janice Wallace's statements offer a counterbalance, painting the story as a mix of truth, ego, and revisionism. One critic in the doc summarizes it best: "When you control the narrative, you control the memory." And Diddy always controlled the narrative until now. By dawn, #TupacTruth had racked up tens of millions of mentions. Fans couldn't stop replaying Greg Kading's testimony the moment he read aloud the proper statement from Keffe D alleging that Sean Combs offered $1 million for the debts of Tupac and Suge Knight. The clip, just 47 seconds long, became the most shared segment of the entire series within 24 hours.
What made it a specific, like, hey, I'm serious, I want you guys to kill these guys? I mean,
when he told me the greenback.
How's it go? How's the conversation go? I mean, okay, listen, I'll do it, but I need $500,000, or, you know, I've got somebody who will do it, but I need $300,000. I mean, we need really specific details regarding that.
Yeah, we wanted $1 million.
You said you walked downstairs. Did he say, come meet me downstairs?
Yeah, he said, come on downstairs and talk to me.
Oh, he tells you, seriously, man, I need to get rid of these guys. I mean, he's looking at you in the eyes and he's like scared.
Yeah.
In your opinion, the specific reason he asked you to come downstairs and talk to him was about that thing, not about liquor or anything. It was about that. Okay. You tell him we'll do it for $1 million, and he's like, okay, I'll do it for $1 million.
Yeah.
He agrees. You shake on it or something like that.
He like, man, we'll wipe out quick. You know, it's nothing.
Who brought up the amount of $1 million?
He did.
TikTok was flooded with reaction
Wasn't you?
videos, creators sitting in stunned silence, mouths covered, captions reading, "I wasn't ready for this." Others began connecting dots between the documentary's timeline and decades of rumors buried in old interviews. Conspiracy creators reignited long, dormant theories. Some argued that the FBI buried evidence to protect high-profile names, while others speculated that Suge Knight and Diddy were pawns in a much bigger political game. Reddit threads exploded overnight, particularly in r/hip-hop conspiracy, where users began cross-referencing LAPD documents shown in the series with previously leaked police reports. One top comment summarized the collective disbelief: "We grew up thinking this was an East versus West thing. Now it looks like it was all business, bloody business." The re-examination of the East Coast-West Coast war reopened old wounds across the hip-hop community. Fans started debating the line between competition and blood feud, posting clips of the 1995 Source Awards alongside newer interviews from Suge Knight and old Bad Boy promos. YouTube exploded with explainers titled "What Diddy Didn't Want You to Know," "The Real Reason Pac and Biggie Died," and "The $1 Million Hit," Fact or Fiction. Hip-hop historians and podcasters rushed to respond, some defending Diddy's innocence, others admitting that after this episode, denial isn't so easy anymore. Even longtime collaborators like Faith Evans and Lil' Kim began trending as viewers revisited old interviews for hidden clues or emotional tells. The internet was treating The Reckoning not as a documentary, but as a true crime investigation that had finally broken open. The documentary's claim that Diddy ushered Biggie to his death by canceling his Europe tour became one of the episode's most debated topics online. Fans dissected the timeline, comparing Big E's last interviews with footage from the party and event. The funeral controversy, whether Diddy allegedly charged costs back to Big E's estate, sparked moral outrage. Some viewers called it heartless beyond comprehension. Others, citing Wayne Barrow's rebuttal, insisted that rumors were twisting grief into spectacle. Regardless, the debate pushed the documentary into a new realm of virality. People weren't just talking about it, they were investigating it. By the time episode 3 begins, The Reckoning has already pulled back the curtain on Diddy's rise, his rivalries, and the shadow of violence that trailed him through the 1990s. But this chapter, titled Official Girl, shifts the focus from fame to power, from to the people he controlled behind closed doors. It's not about the empire anymore. It's about the women who survived it. The episode opens in silence. We see glittering images of Diddy's platinum years, glossy videos, champagne parties, yachts, Sorak ads, Met Gala entrances. His voice narrates from an old 2006 interview. "I'm a king. I don't chase love. Love chases me." Then the cuts. The screen turns black and a voice says, "But what if love wasn't what they were chasing?" From there, the illusion of glamour collapses. The first 10 minutes recap Diddy's dominance after Biggie's death. Bad Boys Rebirth, the Sean John fashion line, and chart-topping hits like I'll Be Missing You and I Need a Girl. On the surface, this was a man who had conquered grief and turned pain into an empire. But as the montage fades, the tone shifts to a stark confession from an anonymous industry insider. When Pac and Big died, Puff didn't slow down. He sped up. He thought he was untouchable. That's when the darkness got creative. We're then introduced to the 1999 New York nightclub shooting where Nada Rubin claimed she was shot in the face during a melee involving Diddy and then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez.
That it was P. Diddy who shot you.
I was standing by the front door. I watched the entire thing out. I had no reason to believe that it would escalate to a shooting. It was just male machismo and bravado at first. A lot of pushing and shoving, raised voices, hands. But then I saw them reach in their waist and draw from their hip. And I knew. I instantly turned to my friends and told them, be careful, watch out. And when I turned back, I know, and I've said over and over, I've heard the voice of God, said, you are about to be hit. Calm down.
The episode plays chilling courtroom footage where Rubin describes chaos, fear, and the belief that Diddy's entourage tried to silence witnesses afterward. Diddy denied wrongdoing, but the incident marked another moment where violence shadowed his success. Next, the doc revisits a lesser-known but telling event, Diddy's 1999 attack on executive Steven Stout over a disagreement about how Diddy was portrayed in a Nas video, Hate Me Now. Combs allegedly stormed Stout's office with bodyguards and beat him with a champagne bottle. Police reports confirmed that Diddy was arrested and later settled out of court.
And in that video, they had Puff and Nas on the cross. And I believe Puff pastor at the time, I don't know if it was Hezekiah Walker. He had a pastor that used to come by the studio quite often. I guess maybe give him some wisdom or something like that, talk to him. And so when that video came on, well, once we viewed the video, I believe the pastor said that it's wrong for him to make a mockery of Jesus on the cross. You're not supposed to do that. Basically what he was saying. So Puff didn't want that video to be aired for that simple fact. And they still aired the video. And that was Steve Stout's project there, I believe, with Nas or whatever was going on. And that's why they went and did that to Steve Stout.
The footage is paired with commentary from former Bad Boy employees who described the moment as a snapshot of who he really was. One says that wasn't business, that was ego and fear. He wanted everyone to know he was still the alpha. Then the tone grows even darker. The episode shifts to the Making the Band era featuring Aubrey O.D., one of the few former artists to speak publicly and on camera about what she endured. O.D. recounts in tears how she was allegedly sexually harassed, manipulated, and later blacklisted after rejecting Diddy's advances.
You realize the burden that puts on my soul for the past year, the weight of that man and his I will never get up from under it.
She didn't take that information and say, and this happened to me. I think that what you see in the film is her struggling to digest did this happen to me?
She claims he weaponized contracts and edited footage on Making the Band to portray her as difficult before firing her in retaliation. The doc reveals a newly unearthed affidavit from 2012 suggesting that O'Day may have been assaulted while unconscious during a private gathering in Miami. The document, never before seen publicly, appears on screen for only a few seconds. Her lawyer submitted this but withdrew days later. The case never went forward. O'D's voice trembles as she says, "People warned me. Don't cross him. Don't tell your story." But silence only protects power. From there, the reckoning builds toward its emotional and moral centerpiece, the Cassie Ventura story. The segment unfolds like a timeline, her signing to Bad Boy in 2005, the grooming, the romantic involvement, and finally the 2023 lawsuit that detonated the narrative around Diddy's public image.
bombshell lawsuit, Cassie alleges the Bad Boy Records music mogul, throughout their 10-year relationship, physically and sexually abused her.
I was no longer going to be embarrassed. I am not the only one. I'm going to stand up.
Using voiceovers, texts, and legal filings, the documentary reconstructs Cassie's claims, years of manipulation, physical abuse, and sexual coercion, including allegations that Diddy hired a male sex worker named Clayton Howard for forced encounters. Former assistants recall Cassie's fear, saying she was treated like an employee and a possession. One chilling moment features an old behind-the-scenes clip from the Love album sessions where Cassie looks visibly distant while Diddy jokes to the crew. "She's under contract, baby, ain't she?" The audience sits in uneasy silence. Cassie's attorney appears briefly, explaining how the lawsuit wasn't just about assault, it was about ownership. Diddy's legal team denied every allegation, calling it false, vindictive, and money-driven. But the doc contrasts his denial with footage of his rapid settlement within 24 hours, prompting one expert to ask, if it was all lies, why ended so fast? Next comes Lil Rod's story, one of the most disturbing segments in the entire series. A young producer who worked closely with Diddy on the Love album Off the Grid, Rod claims he experienced drug-fueled manipulation, hidden surveillance, and intimidation tactics during months of studio isolation. He describes rooms with cameras in every corner, constant pressure to indulge in Diddy's parties, and the emotional toll of being gaslit into compliance. The documentary flashes excerpts from Rod's civil suit filed in early 2024, which accuses Diddy of creating a culture of coercion inside his own home. Rod's interview ends with one chilling quote. "He wasn't just recording, he was recording everything." Just when the episode feels like it can't go any further, director Alexandria Stapleton drops a revelation that stuns both audiences and critics alike. Investigators allegedly discovered that Diddy filmed himself throughout multiple years. Personal footage, parties, sexual encounters, studio sessions, confrontations, over 140 hours of raw, unreleased tapes. Some of the footage reportedly seized during federal raids has never been shown publicly.
Now y'all know that footage that where Diddy is behind the scenes talking to his lawyer and all of this stuff, and people like, damn, what was Diddy recording it? Well, Diddy was recording it because he thought he was about to beat the case, so he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tag.
A blurred-out law enforcement source states, "It's not what's on the tapes that matters. It's why he kept them. It's leverage, insurance, control." The screen cuts to black and text appears. All 140 hours remain in federal custody. None have been released. Moments later, a single Instagram post flashes on screen. 50 Cent's cryptic message posted just hours after the episode premiered. "He filmed himself. That's all I'll say." The episode ends with a slow montage of mirrors. Diddy in luxury hotel rooms fixing his cufflinks, smiling into reflections. The narration whispers, he documented everything. But in the end, the camera became his witness. As the credits roll, the screen fades to a grainy shot of a VHS tape labeled Private 2006, followed by a quiet hum of security footage, then silence. If episode 2 detonated the bomb, then episode 3 was the aftershock that no one could escape. The moment Official Girl dropped on Netflix, social media went from disbelief to collective outrage. Within hours, hashtags like Diddy Tapes, hashtag Official Girl Netflix, and Cassie Truth dominated every major platform. Fans, journalists, and even former collaborators flooded timelines with a single chilling sentiment. This is beyond disturbing. It wasn't just the content, it was the tone. The previous episodes had been historical, analytical, and cautious. Episode 3, by contrast, felt like a confession tape from an industry that had been complicit for far too long. By sunrise, the clip of Lil Rod's chilling quote, "He wasn't just recording, he was recording everything."
Saying that they was getting their ass taken, bro. Multiple times. Kept partying. Owe you some money? I mean, you know. Yo, what the f is going on on in this world, bro. Said I woke up with females in the bed. Then I woke up and Diddy was in the bed. What was Diddy doing in the bed, bro?
Had been shared over 40 million times across TikTok and X, formerly Twitter. Reaction videos showed creators visibly shaken, some in tears, others whispering, "How did this stay hidden?" For decades. TikTok creators broke down the timeline of Cassie Vender's lawsuit scene by scene, syncing old red carpet footage with new revelations. One viral video compared her forced smiles during interviews with Diddy to court statements about coercion. The caption read, "We thought she was living the dream. She was surviving it." Hashtag Tassi Ventura trended for 3 straight days, surpassing Free Britney's engagement during its peak. Survivors across social media began using the hashtag We Hear You Cassie, turning the episode into something larger than pop culture. It became a reckoning for silence and entertainment itself. For the first time, former collaborators and insiders began publicly reacting to the documentary. Some confirmed details that had long been whispered. Others vehemently denied them. Aubrey O'D, whose segment had already stunned viewers, posted a follow-up video on Instagram Live. Tearfully, she said, "Watching it felt like being 23 again. I kept my mouth shut for years, thinking no one would believe me. Now the world sees why." Within hours, the post had over 1 million views and hundreds of supportive comments from fans and fellow artists. Meanwhile, Faith Evans posted a cryptic message on X. "Sometimes truth takes too long to come out, but it always finds its way." Fans immediately interpreted it as quiet solidarity with Cassie and the other women featured in the documentary. But not everyone stood behind the doc. Mario Winans, a longtime Bad Boy producer, pushed back in a now-deleted tweet, writing, "Don't let editing fool you. I never saw anything like that." Puff was demanding, not demonic. His defense, however, only fueled further speculation. Many saw it as loyalty born out of fear, not truth. Even Jennifer Lopez was dragged into the conversation as clips from the 1999 nightclub shooting resurfaced online. Fans re-examined her old interviews, searching for subtle hints of what she might have seen or chosen to ignore. If Episode 3 was the explosion, Episode 4 is the aftermath, the smoldering ruins of an empire once fought untouchable. Aptly titled Blink Again, this finale isn't just about Sean Diddy Cole's legal downfall. It's about the reckoning of a man, a myth, in a movement that defined an era of American fame. The episode begins in stark contrast to the flash and swagger of early Bad Boy days. Instead of champagne and flashing lights, the camera opens on federal courtroom footage, muted tones, emotionless faces, and the once unstoppable mogul now in handcuffs. Emotionless faces, and the once unstoppable mogul now in handcuffs. A voiceover from director Alexandria Stapleton sets the tone. For decades, he told the world he couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. But in this courtroom, he finally did. The jury found Diddy guilty on 2 counts of violating the Mann Act, transporting individuals, including 2 male sex workers, across state lines for illicit purposes. He was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison with 12 months time served. From there, the doc pivots into the intricate chaos surrounding the trial. Over 100 civil suits, witness intimidation rumors, and mountains of newly serviced evidence. The camera alternates between news coverage and quiet, devastating shots of fans taking down Diddy posters from their walls. For the first time, Blink Again gives voice to the jurors themselves. Their interviews, shot in shadow for anonymity, reveal the emotional turmoil behind their verdict. Connections between Porter's death and sealed lawsuits against Combs filed in 2019. If Season 1 was the collapse, Season 2 is the excavation, peeling back what remains buried beneath fame, grief, and fear. The teaser closes on a single haunting visual. Kim Porter's smiling face fades into static. 50 Cent's voice returns one last time, low, deliberate, and chilling. If Season 1 was the reckoning, Season 2 will be the aftermath. Then, in a whisper that leaves the viewer frozen. Because in Diddy's world, Nothing stays buried forever. One juror admits, we weren't deciding just on a man. We were deciding on a myth, and myths are hard to convict. Another confides, some of us believed every word of the victims. Others questioned the timeline, but when those tapes surfaced, the room went silent. They referenced the 140 hours of self-recorded footage that allegedly captured everything from lavish freak-offs to conversations about silencing witnesses. Netflix only shows a few blurred frames, but the implication is explosive. It's clear the tapes became a deciding factor in Diddy's conviction, even though the bulk of them remain sealed by court order. Then comes the moment that sends chills through everyone watching. Former assistant Capricorn Clark, once a trusted member of Diddy's inner circle, takes the stand. She recounts a night when Diddy allegedly kidnapped her at gunpoint after discovering her connection to Suge Knight's family. Her trembling voice echoes through the courtroom. He told me, if I ever find out you played both sides, I'll have to kill you.
He says, hey, I didn't know you had anything to do with Suge. Like, if something happens, I'm gonna have to kill you. He wanted to let me know how it would happen. You will be in a dark park, and there will be no one around if this shit goes left. And I'm telling you, like, we just gonna do it like this so you really understand. I never told anyone. I never called the police. Anybody else would have said, Puff Daddy told me he's gonna kill me in the park.
Clark's emotional breakdown becomes one of the documentary's defining moments. The jurors interviewed afterward describe it as the testimony that changed everything. Still, not everyone believed her. One juror admits they thought she was too emotional, too traumatized to be coherent. That tension between credibility and trauma is precisely what makes this episode so haunting. Episode 4 doesn't let up. Former Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burrows, already known for his accusations in earlier episodes, drops a bombshell. Sitting stiffly in a dimly lit room, he declares, I'm also a victim on multiple levels. Not just professionally, personally, sexually. Burrows describes a toxic, coercive environment at Bad Boy, where loyalty meant submission and silence was currency. He alleges sexual deviance, manipulation, and control, calling Diddy a man who fed off fear. His allegations are corroborated by unnamed former employees who describe closed-door meetings and ritual-like behavior within Combs' mansion. While some of these claims remain unverified, the detail and emotion behind Burrows' testimony leave viewers shaken. For the first time, the camera cuts to an old photo of Diddy and Burrows in 1994. Two young moguls smiling, arms around each other. The visual contrast between that image and Burrows' trembling voice decades later is devastating. In the middle of the storm, Janice Combs, Diddy's 83-year-old mother, enters the frame with a fierce rebuttal. Through archival clips and a newly recorded statement, she denounces the entire project. This is not journalism. This is a hit job. My son has made mistakes, but he is no monster. She specifically targets Kirk Burrows' claim that Diddy once slapped her after the 1991 City College stampede, calling it inaccurate and patently false. Her voice shakes, but her message is clear. The documentary, in her view, is not about justice. It's about revenge. They are using my son's pain and my pain for entertainment, she says. Netflix cuts to the statement Diddy's legal team set before the doc's release, labeling The Reckoning a shameful hit piece. But the footage that follows Diddy pacing, shouting at his lawyers, veins bulging as he screams, "Fix this. They can't do this to me," paints a far darker picture. It's raw, unfiltered, and haunting. The closing montage intercuts courtroom footage with behind-scenes clips of Diddy in his final days of freedom. It's clear he was documenting his downfall. perhaps out of arrogance or maybe as insurance. We see him pacing his Miami mansion, barking orders into his phone. They need me. The world needs me. You think I'm finished? I'm not finished. But his voice cracks.
Just as not guilty. I want to have a life to be able to live. It's really going to be hard for me to take more hits than I take it.
You didn't do anything wrong on any front, and you've come to New York to face things head on. If anyone was ever paying any attention to what you've actually been doing, you've handled this with complete.
Bro. Then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to constantly be pushing that, Mark. In the dirtiest of dirty business of media. And proper.
For the first time, the swagger is gone. The final 90 seconds are eerily quiet. The screen shows the Bad Boy Records logo fading slowly into black and white static. Then 50 Cent's voice cuts through. When you play God long enough, the world eventually demands proof. As the credits roll, text overlays appear on screen. Sean Combs is currently serving his sentence at Fort Dix Federal Correctional Institution in New Jersey. Over 100 civil lawsuits remain pending. Netflix has confirmed 140 hours of additional footage not included in this series. The camera lingers on the words "to be continued." It's not just a teaser for a potential sequel. It's a statement. The story of Sean Diddy Combs isn't finished. It's still being written in courtrooms, in survivor testimonies, and in the collective conscience of a culture finally reckoning with its own silence. Within hours of episode 4's release, the internet explodes again. Link again trends globally. Viewers post reaction videos crying, shaking, or sitting in stunned silence. One viral tweet reads, "We watched the fall of a king, and for once, the kingdom didn't cheer." Critical nail in hip-hop's wall of silence. Meanwhile, 50 Cent posts a final Instagram story. A single crown emoji falling off a chest piece. No caption, no hashtags, just silence. And that silence after 4 brutal, unflinching hours of television, is the loudest sound of all. Then came the debate that split the public down the middle. For some, the reckoning was the justice long denied. A long overdue exposure of power abuse, manipulation, and decades of silence. For others, it was revenge disguised as revelation, orchestrated by enemies like 50 Cent to destroy a rival while he was already on his knees. TikTok, Reddit, and podcasts erupted into philosophical and moral questions. Is this accountability? One user asked. Or a public stoning? Would this doc exist if he wasn't already convicted? Another replied. The question dominated social feeds for days. Fans reposted side-by-side clips. Diddy shouting at his lawyers in the final moments versus 50 Cent's calm, controlled voiceover. When you play God long enough, the world eventually demands proof. Was 50 Cent seeking truth or vengeance? Critics debated the ethics of his involvement. The Guardian described 50 as both narrator and executioner, while Billboard called the series a personal vendetta turned cultural exorcism. Even those sympathetic to Diddy couldn't deny the power of the footage. The scenes of him barking orders at his legal team, sweating, unraveling. These became viral symbols of the empire's collapse. And then came that post. 50 Cent, who had remained mostly quiet since episode 3, returned to Instagram the morning after the finale with a single message. The footage ain't even half of what's coming. No caption, no hashtags, just a black screen with those words in bold white text. Within minutes, it was reposted tens of thousands of times. Fans flooded the comments. What does he mean by half? Is there a part 2? If this is half, the rest must be nuclear. Entertainment insiders hinted that 50 Cent had access to even more unreleased material, potentially involving other industry figures and incidents surrounding Kim Porter's mysterious 2018 death. Theories ran wild. Podcasters dubbed it the biggest cliffhanger in documentary history. And for once, everyone from journalists to casual viewers agreed on something. This wasn't the end of the story. The final minutes of the reckoning play like a eulogy for an era, not just for Sean Diddy Combs, but for a culture that confused power with greatness as the screen fades between empty studios, shuttered offices, and darkened clubs once ruled by bad boys. 50 Cent's narration cuts through with quiet intensity. The reckoning doesn't just expose Sean Combs. It exposes a system, one that protected power, silenced victims, and glorified control. Those words echo long after the credits roll. What started as a 4-part docu-series about one man's alleged downfall has become something far larger, a cultural mirror. The documentary forces the audience and the industry to confront how far they were willing to look away. For years, Diddy was more than a mogul. He was the model of untouchable success. A man who built an empire on ambition and invincibility. But when that empire collapsed, it revealed the machinery underneath: the lawyers, executives, and institutions that enabled the myth to stand for decades. Legal experts on CNN and MSNBC called the series a landmark in accountability storytelling. Social commentators dub it the R. Kelly moment for the hip-hop generation. And within Hollywood, a new unease has taken hold. If Diddy can fall, who's next? Even from prison, Sean Combs hasn't gone silent. His legal team released a statement calling the series fiction sold as fact and announced that Diddy is working on a tell-all memoir tentatively titled Can't Stop, Won't Fall. According to insiders, the book will claim that Netflix manipulated interviews, fabricated context, and weaponized personal trauma to destroy him. Rumors are swirling that Diddy is also developing a counter-documentary, possibly funded by private investors and slated for release under the working title United, The Truth About the Reckoning. Early reports suggest the project will feature former associates, family members, and ex-staff who refute the Netflix portrayal. Whether this is a desperate attempt at redemption or a final act of defiance remains unclear, but it ensures one thing: Diddy's war with the truth isn't over. Meanwhile, reality continues to close in. Over 100 active lawsuits remain pending, many from former employees, collaborators, and alleged victims. The Department of Justice has hinted that further investigations are ongoing, particularly regarding financial misconduct, witness intimidation, and human trafficking allegations tied to Diddy's business ventures. Several cases, once dismissed or sealed, are reportedly being reopened in light of the reckoning's new evidence. Attorneys representing multiple plaintiffs have already cited the Netflix footage as grounds for appeal. In other words, the fallout is only beginning. Beyond the courtroom, the cultural shift is seismic. Hip-hop forums are flooded with debates about separating art from artist. Artists who once idolized Diddy are reassessing their own legacies, wondering how much complicity fame demands. A viral editorial from The Atlantic summed it up: "The reckoning isn't just about Diddy, it's about us, the fans, the media, the industry, and how we all played a part in keeping him untouchable." The documentary has already become a touchstone in film studies and journalism programs. Professors cite it as a modern case study in how digital media can force transparency when institutions refuse to. And for many survivors, Cassie Ventura, Lil Rod, Joy Dickerson, Neil, and others, the series represents something deeper than exposure, a collective validation that their silence wasn't in vain. In its closing moments, The Reckoning returns to the same motif that opened the series: the image of Diddy walking alone down a dark hallway, camera in hand, filming himself. But this time, the confident smirk is gone. The final shot freezes on his face, tired, hollow, unguarded, before fading into a single ominous line of text: "The empire may have fallen, but the story isn't over." As viewers sit in stunned silence, the feeling isn't triumph, it's reckoning. Because the true villain isn't just Diddy, it's the system that let him become Diddy in the first place. Just when the credits seem to end, the screen flickers and a single name appears: Kim Porter. A low hum builds under archival footage of her smiling beside Diddy, cradling their twins, laughing in interviews. Then the narration whispers: "Some stories weren't ready to be told until now." Rumors about season 2 have already begun to swirl, fueled by leaked production notes and whispers from insiders close to 50 Cent. The working title: The Kim Porter Mystery. This rumored sequel will center on the life and death of Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime partner and the mother of 3 of his children, a woman whose sudden passing in 2018 remains one of Hollywood's most haunting unsolved tragedies. Reports indicate that The Reckoning's production team had access to exclusive material related to Porter's final days. Interviews, diary entries, and even unreleased home footage allegedly found within Diddy's personal archives. But those scenes were withheld from season 1, reportedly due to ongoing investigations. Producer and Porter's former partner, Alb Shore, who has long claimed she feared for her life, resurfaces in early teasers. In 2023, he posted a cryptic message on Instagram before deleting it: "They killed her. I'm not afraid to say it anymore." Fans believe his words are the foundation for season 2's central narrative, a search for truth buried beneath wealth, influence, and fear. According to Variety insiders, 50 Cent is already in talks to produce the follow-up. Expanding on the evidence and interviews left out of The Reckoning, unconfirmed reports suggest the sequel could feature unreleased footage from Diddy's home surveillance archives spanning 2016 to 2018, new testimonies from former house staff and security members, investigative deep dives into the final week of Porter's life, including the mysterious timeline of her flu-like symptoms, connections between Porter's death and sealed lawsuits against Combs filed in 2019. If season 1 was the collapse, season 2 is the excavation, peeling back what remains buried beneath fame, grief, and fear. The teaser closes on a single haunting visual. Kim Porter's smiling face fades into static. 50 Cent's voice returns one last time. Low, deliberate, and chilling. If season 1 was the reckoning, season 2 will be the aftermath. Then, in a whisper that leaves the viewer frozen because in Diddy's world, nothing stays buried forever. Let us know your thoughts in comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video to support the channel. Subscribe to Holly Hype TV for the latest updates and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, peace out.